Where are you, Rob? Were you in a DFS showroom? What is this, Des O'Connor Tonight? We're in SoHo in London, in SoHo Square. We are subterranean, we're underground. Why are we here? Because today's guest insisted on it. It had to be near him, because that's the kind of guy Ben Miller is. He calls the shots. You know Ben as one half of course, Armstrong and Miller. You know him as an author of many a children's book, and we'll be talking about those in a little bit. And of course for his many dramatic/comedic roles, and for directing and for writing. And he's been with us here before. That was over Zoom. Now he's back. Big up, Ben Miller. Don't forget, you can hear the full-length, longer version wherever you get your podcasts.
It's easier for you to meet me here than to come to Gloucestershire. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because you live in Gloucestershire, in that lovely place that I remember from the Zoom.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere.
So what brings you into town then?
Well, I came to... I'm on the book promo trail, to be honest, and I came to do Chris Evans' show this morning, which I have to say I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
I think that man is marvellous, and I've been a huge fan. Back in the day, so I'm talking, I think we're probably talking early 90s, Alexander Armstrong and I used to go to see him record TFI.
Did you?
Friday, yeah. So we would be in that bar. Do you remember that bar?
Yes.
So he'd have the show. He was really sort of completely writing the rules of how you would do a sort of Friday night show. He had the most incredible interviews. He had the most the bands, Rob, the bands that he had on there. And we would be one of those tragic people hanging around in the bar because we knew we'd met something, because he's got a big team around him, hasn't he? So you can kind of get to know the team without ever getting to know Chris. So we were like sort of not even satellites on the periphery of his orbit.
Like knowing some of Elvis's guys, but never actually meeting Elvis.
Exactly. But hanging around in a bar.
Were you known at this stage? Had you had some exposure? Would people know you?
Not really. I mean, no, I don't really think so. I mean, we were on the Paramount Comedy Channel, so no, we weren't known. We did. I think we'd been maybe a bit on Saturday Live at that point. So we'd had like a kind of a sniff, perhaps, of the.
And what stuff would you have been doing on Saturday Live? Which characters would you have been doing on that?
We this is fun actually. We got booked to do the pilot, and we were going to do our Swedish rock band.
Oh yeah, Striker.
Our Norwegian rock band, Striker.
Yeah.
And we're the we're the guys from Striker. We're the third most popular band in Norway. Number 2, MC Nuthouse. And this morning we played Chilton Rock Morning. So cool. We've been on the road like 8 days, man. This afternoon we play Saffron Walden Rock Afternoon. And we would do a song on the so to speak on the pilot. We did that, and I think we'd only done Edinburgh at this point, and then we got booked they didn't like the pilot. They made another pilot. You know how I just remember this feeling. It probably wasn't the same for you, but I was feeling like I had my nose pressed up at the glass against the glass. I'm never going to get in. Nothing's ever going to happen. Yeah. Booked for the pilot. They don't like the pilot. They're not going to pick the pilot. They're going to make another pilot. And we get booked onto to the next pilot. Then we get booked for the first show of the series. And there's going to be, I think, 8, 9, 10 shows in the series. It's going to go out live. There's going to be the most amazing bands playing. So the bands are getting better and better. By the time it gets to show 1, we've got Ray Charles is sort of opening the show.
Seriously?
Do you remember Lee Hurst was the compere of the show? And
Ray Charles? You had Ray Charles?
Yeah, we had Ray Charles. I mean, there
was Tina Charles.
It was an awful moment.
I love to love, not her.
Tina Charles. No, there was
Ray Charles.
Yeah, there was an awful
Good
moment
Lord.
because Junior Simpson was doing a warm up for Ray Charles, and of course they brought Ray Charles. Ray Charles is opening the show, so they bring him onto the stage, and as he comes on, Junior Simpson says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe I'm here." With this man on stage, Ray Charles. And Ray Charles thinks he's been introduced for the show and starts his opening number. And so then Lee Hurst has to go over and say, sorry, can we stop? That's not the beginning of the show. So it felt like one of those shows that's never going to go on.
How did Ray
Two
Charles
pilots
respond to that? Was he okay about it?
With terseness and anger as my response. It was sort of, who are these amateurs? That kind of attitude, and understandably so. I mean, anyway, so we were booked onto that show, and we did on one of our sort of Norwegian rock songs, and then got booked onto the second show. We're so desperate for any kind of breath of success. And then the third show that we got booked for, we came on into the rehearsals to find them making a banner with the name of our band on. And at that point we thought, maybe, just maybe, we're going to be regulars. And we did. We became regulars. We were on the show then every week, and we got booked onto the writing team. So we were starting to make money out of writing for other people on the show, writing for Lee and writing for everybody else.
You worked with Lord Coogan in his first big starring role film, didn't you?
I did, yeah. The parole officer. I think Simon Pegg was meant to play the part, and then Simon had to drop out for some reason. I can't remember what. He was doing something else. I mean, Simon had a lot of other film things at the time, and I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. We filmed it in Manchester. It's just fantastic. And we had Paris in that film.
Yeah. Was that the one that Omar Sharif was in?
Omar Sharif was in it. Yeah. Omar Sharif was in it. I remember.
Do you know the Pizza Express story?
No. What's that?
I felt like you were about to tell a story about Omar Sharif. Go on, you tell yours, and then I'll try and remember the Pizza Express one.
Well, my memory is probably the same as yours, which is the story that we all loved at the time, which we were filming in Warrington. And Omar Sharif was a fantastic raconteur. He was living this incredible life. I mean, he lived in the Ritz in Paris. He played bridge all the time. He very rarely did films. He had this fantastic, fascinating life to talk to him about. I remember sort of this isn't to do with the story, but I remember sort of asking him, so what is it like? What's a day look like for Omar Sharif in the Ritz? And he said, well, I'll tell you this. He said, I never eat breakfast.
You're not going to do the voice?
No, are you kidding? No, I'm not going to do the voice.
Very wise.
Omar Sharif?
Because I've been sitting here thinking, shall I do the voice? No,
you do the voice.
No.
He said, I never eat breakfast. He said, I never eat lunch. He said, I adore supper. He said, and at supper, I eat whatever I like.
Wow.
Yeah, beautiful.
Steve told me that when they were in Manchester, he said, last night, Steve, I'm not going to do the voice. He said, I wanted to go out to eat. I'm doing the voice. He said I wanted to go out to eat. So I called Pizza Express and I said, I'd like to have a table this evening at 7:00. And they said, I'm sorry, we haven't got any tables. And he said, so what I do is I say, well, can I leave my name? And if a table comes up, you call me. So they said, take your name. I said, it's Omar Sharif. And I gave them a number. And the girl said, right you are, Mr. Sharif. If anything comes up, we'll let you know. And then he said, must be a very good restaurant.
That's a very good Pizza Express. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing.
We last saw each other only a few days, about a week ago, when Ben and I were both at Chris Evans' festival, Carfest. I think you were dressed identically to how you are now.
Identically. In fact, you were wearing something extremely similar.
This has happened to us many times. Best one was one of the first ones, the double denim.
Double
in
denim.
The Cotswolds.
That was a classic.
Remember that?
Yeah, that was a classic.
They're looking at that now. Here's a book. Ben Miller, Once Upon a Legend. You have now written several of these, I have to say, rather popular children's books.
Fiendishly popular. Yeah, they're all listed in this cover.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got.
Well, talk us through
The
them.
first one, let me talk you through the cover, which I think is
It's a
really
handsome
rather
cover. It's a
lovely.
lovely cover.
It's quite a thing to get a cover. It's like trying to, with the imagination. When certainly when I was at school, I was always imagining what my album cover
Yeah,
would look like. It's
yeah.
quite similar with a book. You know, how do you tell the story? How do you sort of tell the story in a cover? So I don't know whether the viewers can see this. We've got 3 children here. So there's a magical sort of staff up here with this beautiful glowing
Orb?
emerald.
Is it an orb?
It's sort of an orb, isn't it? But here, see these rocks, Rob? Do you know what? Have you spotted what those are?
Can I look at? Oh, wait a minute.
Have a
don't think,
closer look.
Well, I know that this book. I won't pretend that I've read it cover to cover, Ben. I've got too much love and respect for you than to do that. But I've certainly read the press release.
Excellent.
And I'm thinking that's probably the hand of a giant.
It's a good guess.
Oh, not right. Okay.
I'm going to give you half a point. It's the face of a giant. Look, there's the giant's eyes. Here is a rocky outcrop here. Look at those two. There's 2 big teeth there. That's the giveaway, and a nose. So you see the title.
Course.
The title is a play on words. Once upon a legend. They are upon a legend, and the legend is this fantastic legend that the British Isles, this is absolutely true, used to be inhabited by giants. When the very first settlers of the British Isles arrived, they found a country populated by giants. They had to fight the giants in order to be able to,
Well, I think what Ben says is true, and I think that in leaving the European Union, I think we've never been better placed to reclaim these giants, and I'm pretty confident that
it's not a metaphor for Brexit. It's a real legend. It's a genuine legend, Rob.
Delays at borders, piffle. Giants will be returning to the sunlit uplands of a post-Brexit Britain because we've taken back control. So it's an allegory then for Brexit.
Well, it's not an allegory for Brexit. Well, I'll tell you what it is, though, is it is an allegory for something. So there's the boy in the story. I really like to have a story that that kids can really tune into emotionally. So this story is about a troubled boy. He's quite troubled because his parents are divorced.
Oh.
His mum's about to remarry a stepfather he really doesn't like, called Colin. Colin's really into sort of antique planes and works at the local air museum. He really doesn't like him. He's a bit of a plane spotter. And this character, Marcus, is misbehaving at school. He's acting up at school, and he gets given a week to turn his life around. He's sent to this special school, Merlin's, with this mysterious mound in its grounds and this weird set of teachers. And you can't seem to misbehave there. Whatever you do, you throw paint around, you have a food fight. They just encourage you to do more of it because they want you to express your feelings. Anyway, Marcus can't stand this, goes up onto the mound, steals Merlin's staff, goes up onto the mound in the middle of the night and shouts, wake up, wanting to wake up the entire school and get expelled. But of course, he wakes up a sleeping giant. Not only one sleeping giant, but all the horde of giants that Merlin put to sleep back in... the historian in me is going to say the olden days.
Yes.
And these giants all wake up. They're furious. What have the humans done to our beautiful country? We're going to go to London and we're going to flatten the Houses of Parliament, flatten Downing Street. And Marcus has to team up with his stepfather, Colin, and the two of them hop in a biplane that Colin's been restoring. And of course, they try and thwart the giants' march.
And do they come together?
And they come together, and as well as
dissolved.
saving the country, the beef is dissolved, the family gets mended.
Yeah. So in a way, the giants wanting to go and squash London, that's Brussels, isn't it, I suppose? Is that what you were trying to say?
Not a metaphor for Brexit. I mean, I can't stress that clearly enough. Yeah, it is in no way a metaphor.
So it's Once Upon a Legend by Ben Miller, Brexit from the Inside, an insider's story, because, of course, you worked in Brussels, didn't you, for some time, rather controversially.
It's got another metaphor for Brexit.
How do you start? But with something like this, do you have to map the whole story out, first of all, and then sort of colour it in? Or do you literally sit down, I imagine you've got one of these modern laptop computers, and you'd sit there and and so the book begins, right? Let's see. The book begins. Chapter 1. I haven't got my blooming glasses on. Did you hear any of what I just said?
Oh, he's murdering it. Come here.
Right, hang on. Did you hear any of what I just said? Marcus was in the headmaster's office again. I'm doing Ian McKellen. I'll do it as Alan Bennett. Did you hear any of what I just said? Marcus was in the headmaster's office again, seated between his mum and dad, a bored expression on his face. Well, anyway, he goes on. Now, so do you sit down and just start, or have you already plotted out? It begins like this, it goes to here, it ends like this.
I've done it. It's different.
You
with
don't have
every
to thank me for
single
reading
book.
it as Alan Bennett if you don't want
I
to.
won't thank you for that. I won't thank you for that. The what I would.
I did it
There's a
rather
great
well.
gag at the beginning of this.
And I stopped. I can't see. I've got my glasses on. I've got my glasses
Can
on.
I read you the beginning?
And now Ben Miller reads this week's book at bedtime as Ben Miller
Chapter 1.
reads from his new book, Once Upon a Legend.
Did you hear any of what I just said? Marcus was in the headmaster's office, again seated between his mum and dad, a bored expression on his face. Well, said Mr. Strickland impatiently, glaring at Marcus through his little round glasses, I'm waiting. Marcus, said his mum, putting a hand on Marcus's arm, the headmaster's asking whether there might be a reason you keep misbehaving. Something you'd like to tell us? Something you're upset about, perhaps? Marcus scowled. I'm fine, he said. You see, said the headmaster, throwing up his hands in exasperation, this is the whole problem right here. The boy must know he's in serious trouble, but look at him, he just sits there, not a care in the world, like he's waiting for a film to start. Demerits, detentions, it's all just water off a duck's back. I'm sorry, we've reached the end of the road. I'm recommending to the governors that Marcus is suspended. Oh, come on, said Marcus's dad with a snort, joke approaching. Is that really necessary? All he did was move the shallow end sign. It was a joke, wasn't it, Marcus? Just a bit of harmless fun. Not for Mr. Figures, it wasn't. He lost 2 front teeth, demonstrating a racing dive.
Well, I'm in. I'm in. And I like the way you push some imaginary glasses up your nose there as well. That's
So,
rather
but
lovely,
in all seriousness, it depends what you're starting with, doesn't it? You've got the mound, and you think, oh, it must be a giant, and then you might, with this one, I was thinking, what would that story be? Other times, you just start, like the last book, the book I wrote before this, all I had was an image of a girl in bed,
All right,
and there was
steady.
Yeah, it didn't make it into the book. She had a golden thread.
Yeah, all right.
Wrapped around her finger.
Yeah, well, never mind about her fingers.
And she could feel a tug.
Yeah, but Ben, please.
On the end of this
Please,
golden
if you
thread.
want to become Britain's premier children's author, you've got to tone it down, my friend.
And she wakes up and she has this golden thread tied to her finger. She's got to find what's on the end of the golden thread. And I didn't know what was on the end of the golden thread, so I had to, write the story to find out. So it depends entirely.
So who's this aimed at then? What age?
Sort of 7 to 107, Rob. So it's sort of 7 and up, basically. I'd say you could probably get the gist of it if you were 6, if somebody read it to you.
Is the next one already started? The idea, or
Yes.
even you're on it?
Oh my goodness, yeah, because I write. I've got this. So I've been doing 2 books a year. I mean, like a standalone novel, and then I do this sort of series of. They've been Diaries of a Christmas Elf. So
Oh yes, of
I had the
course. Yes,
first
yes,
one,
yes.
Diary of a Christmas Elf, Secrets of a Christmas Elf, and I've got the 3rd and final book in my Elf Chronicles
Death of
trilogy.
a Christmas Elf. Oh, a sad tale. A sad, sad tale. Children up and down the country in floods of tears. Why, Mummy, why?
That's the second mistake you can make, is have death in the title of your children's book. That's what it is.
And yet Death in Paradise. What a segue.
Yeah,
was a great success for you. Although you left it eventually, I'm told, because you were unpopular with the cast and crew. Discuss.
I loved Death in Paradise. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yes, you loved it, but there was that animosity.
I didn't really get on with anyone. I found that I really, really loved doing the show. I found personally, it's the only time I've ever found. Mostly, you just feel really, really grateful that you've got a job.
Yeah,
I do anyway. I'm like,
I think
thank
you
God,
should.
thank God, I've got a job.
Yeah, quite right.
And with Death in Paradise, it's the only time I've thought, I can't, this is just too hard. I'd just been divorced. I just met somebody. And she discovered on the first day of filming that she was pregnant. Jess, my wife, discovered she was pregnant with Harrison.
This is a light-hearted podcast. Please don't cry.
But it was just so hard. It was just so hard. It was such a difficult situation.
She found she was pregnant on the first day of filming.
So she couldn't go, so therefore she couldn't stay.
Right.
Because in Guadeloupe, there's a lot of, there's dengue fever, there's Zika virus, there's all kinds of things that at the time where we were filming, you couldn't be 100% sure you weren't going to catch them. The incidences aren't that high, but there's
Was this when you started Death in Paradise?
Started, very first day of filming. She discovered she was pregnant. She took a pregnancy test in the Portaloo, chemical Portaloo, on set, and discovered she was pregnant and had to go home. So
were you planning
to be there? She was
but you were planning to have children, though?
No, we hadn't had sex, which was really strange.
So to this day, you don't know how it happened?
No,
she'd sat on a warm cushion, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
Because she just spent all that time with Xander,
or a sofa like this, which isn't very absorbent.
Yeah. Because she'd been on that camping holiday with Xander.
Yeah, I mean, that was such fun. I was mostly on my own, sort of hiking. We all had a great time. They were always laughing.
Should be rather ruddy faced because they've been
putting up the tent or taking it down.
Find the sausage, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you weren't planning. So it was a total surprise.
It was a total surprise.
And you're there on your first day
maybe not a total surprise, but a surprise. And
but you stayed on that show for quite a few years.
Well, I was there for 3 years. So this is the thing. So she's pregnant. She's got to go home. I'm now in Guadeloupe on my own.
And you're going to go, I'm going to be a dad again.
And I'm going to be a dad. But, this is a really important time.
You called Xander to give him the news. He said, I know.
Yeah, he said, I know. He said,
I already know.
He said, yeah, and this is when it's due. And I said, no. How did you work that out? And, and then, of course, second season.
Yeah.
Series.
Season. We're not Americans. Please, Ben. You of all people.
It's 10 episodes.
Come on, if you're so keen on writing a Brexit allegory, at least give it the British title.
Second series.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound nearly as glamorous. It's very popular in America, as we call it a season. The second series of programs that we made were, Harrison's 3 months old, and I come back and he's 9 months old, and he doesn't even know who I am. I mean, that's hard.
Where's Xander?
That is really hard.
Where's Xander? And then Xander, the radio comes on.
But the lucky thing, Xander was around.
He was around,
to be there in those early months.
Yeah. And if Xander was unsure of anything, he could always ask Richard Osman, couldn't he? Thank you, Richard. And come up with this lovely catchphrase. Thank you, Richard. How many times? I want to see a supercut of "Thank you, Richard." You could loads, couldn't you?
Loads.
Where was your knowledge of, because the kind of Scandinavian thing hadn't impacted on me at all. So I would never have gone to that.
No, every time you went to we had sort of every time I remember to go to sort of slightly offbeat music venue like the Marquee or something, there would be that kind of voice, that sort of transatlantic voice.
Really?
But also they were just such good musicians. And also there was another time Xander and I we went skiing. Oh my God, yeah. We went skiing and there was this fantastic band that used to play in the bar at night. And they were a jazz band, but they were called On Rocks. Good evening, we are On Rocks. And we both look at each other. It's On the Rocks. Shouldn't it be On the Rocks?
Yeah.
No, we are On Rocks. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and they'd be like pretty loungy sort of jazz. And we just loved it because they looked so cool. There was something about how beautiful they were and how sort of fantastic they looked. And that kind of sort of Scandinavian way of talking, but with a slight, because they're not modeling their accent on British English, they're modeling it on presumably MTV or something like that. And also there were the video, do you not remember the VJs?
Yes.
There was a lot of VJs on MTV.
Yeah, that's right.
And they would all be kind of super cool and use a lot of Videomatic.
What was VH1 in relation to MTV? Was that more adult or
more adult? Yeah, more kind of I guess sort of Radio 2 to the Radio 1.
Well, Ben Miller. We could.
What was it about that made you sort of decide, okay, I'm out. I'm done. I'm done.
Well, what makes you think I'm saying that? I'm saying
it's the tone, your body posture, the tone of your voice, the sort of the blank, slightly existential angst look in your eye.
Well, I was in.
It was what you were doing. It was what you were doing.
I was in Manchester last night. My son, who I'm going to take this home and give to George, wants to go to the driving range.
Oh,
okay.
Well, today?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, today.
You play
Starts
golf?
back at school tomorrow.
You play golf?
A little bit, but not very well. But
It's quite a hard game.
he wants to go there, and like he said, what time will you be home?
Yeah.
I said I'll be home from about 4:30.
Okay.
I'm going to struggle to do that if you don't shut up with this constant yakking about you. Because you may notice it's been all about you. So I need to wrap this up for George's sake.
Yeah.
Or do you want to deny him Dad's presence?
No, I'm going to give it. I'll tell you what. Speaking of presents,
This guy, eh?
I'm going to write a little inscription for him here. Basically,
Ben,
for
pick
God's
the
sake,
book
whatever
up.
you do, don't let your dad read this book to you. There you go.
Holding the pen aloft, Ben inscribed his name to George. His legs
Happy
crossed
reading, he wrote.
contentedly.
Happy reading, he quipped.
Happy reading, Ben Miller. And that was it. Rob could not take it to the charity shop now. Not that I ever would. Ben Miller, once upon a legend. All jokes aside, from that bit you read,
No,
seriously,
aren't you?
I'm 100% sincere. I went, oh.
Oh, I know.
So,
I know. You want to know what happens then, don't you?
Let's shake hands. We signed the deal. You're coming to Tranmere Rovers.
We should have like a printed check that sort of.
That's enough.
Yeah.